Hello, I'm Peggy Carr. It is a pleasure to speak with you today in my new role as the Commissioner of the National Center for Education Statistics. I know many of you already from my role as Associate Commissioner of Assessment for many years, and I look forward to continuing our work together in the future. Today, I'm going to briefly introduce the speakers from my staff who will be presenting on upcoming NCES studies we think will be of interest to you. I also want to say a few words about our mission at NCES during the pandemic. As the Federal Statistical Agency for Education, we're taking it as our mission to provide the best information we can, as quickly as we can, on how this pandemic is affecting the schooling in the United States. We also want to understand the many ways that schools have adapted to provide high-quality education, even in the midst of this disruption. We know that private schools have been at the front lines of finding innovative solutions to the problems caused by the pandemic, and for that, we thank you. But we are also keenly aware of how hard you are working amidst this pandemic, as well as our responsibility for not endangering the safety of students and school staff in the work that we do. And so I want to assure you that in our data collections, we are focused on safety and on being respectful of the time of school staff and students. I will say a bit more about field protocol for our data collections in a couple of minutes. You're going to see 5 short presentations from NCES staff describing upcoming data collections. Elise Christopher will speak to you about one of our NCES newest studies, the High School and Beyond 2022, which will follow students in the high school class of 2022. Jill McCarroll will talk about the next Early Childhood Longitudinal Study, which will follow a kindergarten cohort. It will be in schools in the fall, a year from now, for its field tests, and then begin operational data collections in fall 2023. Mara Spiegelman will discuss the National Teacher and Principal Survey we conducted during the 2021 school year. We will be releasing a report this fall, including important information on how private schools, principals, and teachers adapted to the coronavirus pandemic. Steve Broman will provide an update on our core private school study, the Private School Universe study, which will be collecting data this year. Finally, Bill Ward and Mike Fastbach from our team, as well as Ron Reynolds representing the National Assessment Governing Board, will talk a bit about NAEP, including some fresh results from a special study we undertook this spring, tracking the reopening of schools for in-person learning. The results show how active private schools have been in getting students back into in-person learning. We're also thankful that private schools stepped up and participated at high rates in the survey. I said I would tell you a little bit about how we are protecting student and school staff in our data collections. Of course, many of our data collections do not involve human contact. They are surveys implemented online or through the mail or phone. But our assessments, which will be the prime national source on the impact of the pandemic on student learning, require staff to go into a sample of schools to test students. I will use NAEP as an example of the field protocol we will be using, but PEARLS and PISA, which are both in the field this school year as well, will be implementing similar protocols. First, you should know we will be tracking a close eye on where the virus is most active. Because our assessments are based on samples of students, we will be tracking the specific communities where the assessment is scheduled to be given. This will help us to work with sample schools to schedule assessments. On this map, you see the status of communities on August 10th. There are a few dots in the middle of the country where there's only one new case per 100,000 people per day. There are many more red dots representing 50 new cases and orange ones representing 10 to 24 new cases among 100,000 people. We will be updating this dashboard regularly. We are also implementing state-of-the-art protocols when we send people to schools. I can assure you that all NAEP field staff in your schools will be vaccinated, and they will have their vaccination cards with them when they enter their schools. While vaccinations are the starting point, they are not sufficient for preventing the spread of COVID-19. We will also require all field staff to take weekly COVID tests. We will be using PCR tests or polymerase chain reaction tests to carry out this weekly testing. Anyone who tests positive will not be entering schools until they have tested negative and isolated in their homes for the appropriate amount of time. Field staff will be outfitted with the appropriate PPE or personal protective equipment. They will be trained on how to use this equipment and on the best protocol for preventing spread of the virus. Here's a list of equipment staff will be trained on the use of and required to use per the latest guidance from CDC and our health and safety experts. This list includes disposable masks, sanitizing spray and disposable towels, hand sanitizer, face shields, and disposable gloves that will be optional to use unless they are required by the schools or desired by field staff, and non-contact thermometers. On the day of the assessment, every administrator will go through a health screening, including a temperature check. They will enter the results on a cell phone app and share the results with us before they are cleared to go into the schools. In schools, field staff will practice social distancing and otherwise follow protocols designed with the latest virus protection guidelines in mind, as well as any additional school-specific COVID-19 protocols. Our teams at NCES and our data collection contractor, Westat, will be continually monitoring the experts' health protocols and will update protocols as necessary. I will stop there because I'm eager for us to get to the presentations on specific NCES studies. But I thought it would be important to share with you about the care we will be taking in our data collections. Good information on what is happening in schools is important now more than ever. So we need this data. But we know how busy you are and how much you care about the safety of your students and staff. And so it's important that we collect this vital data as unobtrusively and as safely as possible. As is crucial that private schools are reflected in this data, we want to be sure that we represent the contributions of private schools in overcoming this pandemic. So thank you for your time today and for your contributions to American education as we move beyond the challenges of the past year and work together to ensure our students have the education they need to be successful in school and beyond.